Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. We have been on vacation for a couple of weeks, and we've returned, and it's like fall is setting in. So I thought today's video it would be good to just go around the garden. It is not fixed up because we've been gone, and it's looking pretty rough in spots. But I thought it would be good to go around and just view what things look like. My name is Crystal, and we garden in Zone 9B south of Houston along the Texas Gulf Coast. So apparently we had a day of pretty high winds, 40 mile an hour. I guess it was a red flag day, what they call it. But my giant milkweed here has kind of bowed over. Let me get on this other side. Before I do, I want to show you it's blooming again. I love this. They are such interesting and weird blooms at the same time. And I've had questions throughout the time. Growing these, I've had questions from viewers ask about the yellowing of leaves. This is pretty normal for me in the fall, what we have for our fall, and it's not unusual for it to lose leaves for the winter time, so it's not as abundant in its leaves. Oh, I guess this was from when it was windy. It's just an abundance of leaves in the summer and early fall. And then it will drop yellow and drop leaves for me for the winter. So let me go on this other side. Oh dear, it's even raised up in the container. Wow. But anyway, I'm going to have to stake this up because it got blown over. Goodness gracious, then we must have had some wind. But back in here, I have a lot of native plants. I have non-native plants. This is a blue porterweed that's a volunteer. All my blue porterweeds back in here are volunteers from a couple years ago, which has been kind of fun. I've got a candlestick tree, which is doing well. I've got a couple of volunteers. Kind of surprised that they came up, but I'm glad they did. And then of course we've got the firebush back here. It's just growing beautifully. The Mexican flame vine on the fence is doing well. Firebush just flowers and flowers and flowers through the fall, creates berries that the birds eat. I've noticed on my big one here, oh, there's some. My larger leaf has some bigger berries back in here. And the birds, these aren't totally ripe yet, but the birds come in and get these. Love firebush in the southern garden. Oh dear, and I can see my Mexican flame vine is growing up in through here. My coral honeysuckle is along the side here. When we came back, I saw a hummingbird moth, and it was like, oh, that's this plant. This plant is the host plant to the hummingbird moth. So it is so fun to see the berries here. I've got some that aren't ripe, some that are ripe. It's fun to see these because this vine is trellised, and I have birds in here all the time, every day. And so they come in here. I guess they feel sheltered, but they eat the berries. The hummingbirds, and believe it or not, I had a hummingbird here yesterday. It looked like a rufous. So maybe the wintering ones are making their way down here because we have hummingbirds also during the winter time, typically mainly rufous and buff-bellied hummingbirds. We don't have any ruby throats really that overwinter with us, but they love the nectar from the coral honeysuckle. So it's a host plant, it's a nectar plant, it has berries for the birds, it's a native, it's just one of those plants that has so many positive things about it. So my purple porterweed, I was so happy to see that it was just blooming prolifically, but it also got blown over. Let me go behind it. So I have it in a container and you can see, look at that. It just, whoosh, it's almost like it rerouted the branches on it. It is just crazy. We don't get a lot of wind down here. So when we do get wind, it's like, oh, okay. Darn, I'll have to stake this one up. And if you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge porterweed fan. Porterweed, I have different colors of blooms, different types of porterweed, from a dwarf to these regular porterweed to the native blue porterweed, and creatures that really love nectar. So your butterflies, your hummingbirds, your moths, your bees, your native bees, they gravitate to this plant because it is one of those plants that is abundant in nectar and it will refill with nectar throughout the day. So it is such a positive plant to have. Another reason I love it is fire ants are not attracted to this. So this isn't full of fire ants stealing nectar on the blooms. It is just almost a perfect plant. I think what would be perfect for me would be if it bloomed all along the bloom stalk instead of just a section each day. I would just think that would be so beautiful. So this isn't necessarily a beautiful plant, but in my eyes, I just love it because of what it does and how it attracts pollinators in the pollinator garden. Looks like I need to do a little bit of deadheading here, but look at this. It is still flowering. I love this phlox. This is a native phlox to Texas. It is called John Fanick phlox, and it starts blooming in these beautiful paniculata balls in June, early to mid-June, and it just has flowered for me all season long, and here we are mid-November and it is still flowering. If you do deadhead off the parts that have already been expended with the flowers, I think it continues to flower because I've had good luck doing that. It's starting to get, show that it is getting into the fall, but I just love this. And the swallowtail butterflies love this phlox. Oh, it's small, a big in the summer, the paniculata, the big mop head, if you will, is huge. So yes, it's mid-November and this is small. Oh my goodness, but it's still beautiful. And then next to it, I have the volunteer blue porterweed that I have in the grass, and I'm just letting it grow. And then on to the trellis. So the flamacanthus is blooming here and there. And I've found Gulf fritillary caterpillars on my passion vine. Isn't that gorgeous? It's just like it's like a carpet. It's so beautiful. And I just love having passion vine in the garden. I have both a native. This is a native. This is called cottonleaf passion vine. This is a hybrid. One of its parent plants is a native, and this is called incense. And having this much passion vine in the garden brings in a lot of Gulf fritillary butterflies and caterpillars. I came back here to look to see if I could see the caterpillars that I saw yesterday. I don't see them yet. They're probably still hiding, but there is an egg. Gulf fritillary. Butterflies, they fly for us pretty much year round, and so having this much of a host plant in the garden is really helpful. I'm on one end of this, and you can see along the fence. We have it not planted up to the fence, so the trellis is, I don't know, about 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet from the fence, and so we keep it off the fence so it doesn't go into the neighbor's yard. I typically haven't cut back my salvia, so in this, what we call our tree bed, I have both salvia amante and amistad, and it still blooms. It blooms for me all year long. It's not as prolific right now because I haven't cut it back, but I typically don't cut it back because it's usually always blooming and I have pollinators on it all the time. So the lantana is still growing and blooming. I've seen butterflies on this. This is the red bloomify lantana, but over there it's really blooming. That is the rose. So this is the rose lantana in our central garden bed, and I have seen butterflies all over this. We've had a lot of butterflies since we've gotten back. We've had sulfurs and monarchs. I've seen a lot of male monarchs. We've had Gulf fritillaries. We've had a lot of skippers. And like I've said, I had a new butterfly that I hadn't seen in the yard and took a picture, and it was a pearl crescent. So that was a lot of fun seeing that little butterfly. Things are kind of winding down. You can see my Kufia is blooming, but it isn't blooming as much. The pentas are blooming, but you can see they're starting to show wear on their leaves. The hot lip salvia is starting to bloom again in its two-tone, the red and the white. This is my dwarf red porterweed. I'm going to have to come in here and cut some of it back. It looks like the wind also got to it here. And then, of course, the cardinal climber there is all winding down. I don't have many blooms on it. Do have a lot of seeds, but not many blooms. And I keep this up through the winter for protection. I don't necessarily like the look of it, but creatures will come in here for protection. And so it might harbor a chrysalis, it might harbor just insects, and so that's food for other animals, and so I do keep this up. Behind it, I decided to try to plant Tithonia in grow bags. And the reason I have it behind is because I love having Tithonia in my garden because it attracts so many pollinators. This is such a huge pollinator bloom, like a zinnia. I just do not care for the foliage, and the foliage I have to keep up and trimmed constantly. So if I have a lot of Tithonia, there is a lot of trimming every day, and I do not like that. And so I have found this year I tried to experiment with this, so I planted this Tithonia late. I planted it, I think, in late August, and it is blooming now mid-November. It is blooming beautifully. I can see the blooms through my trellis, and I love the blooms, but thank goodness I don't see the foliage. Now you're going to laugh at me because you're going to say, well, golly, that doesn't look nice at all. And it doesn't, but I know it has a purpose, and it has a purpose for protection. And so I will tolerate that because it has that wonderful purpose in the animal and insect world, whereas Tithonia leaves are just an eyesore. But I enjoy having that patch behind there. So I think I'm going to grow Tithonia in grow bags again. I've been really happy with this experiment. So now we're over here to the shade garden bed. And before we left on vacation, my husband extended this garden bed, and we got some brick, some newer brick, and put that around this garden bed. And I used to have the 2 containers here of this shrimp plant, and we decided to put this in the ground because it grows very well for us in the ground in this particular location. So we decided to put those in the ground, and then if you remember, late summer, I bought this plant, which is a pigeonberry. And this pigeonberry is a native Texas plant, and it flowers and berries all season long. And the berries are very attractive to birds. And so the berries don't stay on this long. This must be really a favorite, because when I come out here and see these berries, they are not here long at all. So the birds do come down and eat these daily. I am very pleased with this pigeonberry. But what we had is I had this gorgeous, I love this plant. This is a white vein Dutchman's pipevine, and we had ours produce some seeds, and the seeds just dropped, and over on the other side they came up through the bricks. And so before we left, we dug them up and planted them over here in this area. And so I'm hoping to get white vein Dutchman's pipevine all throughout here as a ground cover. So we'll see how that goes. I think the star of this garden in the fall is definitely the Salvia madrensis. Look at those yellow blooms. I love it. So when I come around to the front, you can see I'm going to cut this back a little bit more for the winter. But the yellow shrimp plant has a nice new bloom on it. This one makes me so happy to see this one. My caladiums are starting to be finished. My coleus, it looks like the blooms are finishing on them, although they still have the really pretty color in their leaves. But definitely what I just absolutely love is this Salvia madrensis. And this is a fall bloomer, fall through the winter. So it will bloom throughout the whole fall and winter season, actually until you get a frost. And look at these bloom spikes. They are so long and so huge. And my hummingbirds love this plant because it's flowering. It flowers beautifully, and they get so much nectar from this salvia. I just love having this in the fall garden. It doesn't come to life until the fall. The foliage is what is pretty on it throughout the summer season. Oh, but I'm so happy to have a bloomer like this in the fall. Okay, let me come around to this other side. So down here on the end, I shared with you that I had a few plants of coleus that came up from seed. And so I just let them continue to come up, and I thought, let's see what they do. And they are different. This one is dark. This one has a lot of scalloping on the edges. They are very, very interesting. Nothing that I originally planted. So I'm sure they're reverting back to the parent plants. And it's been such a fun experiment. I've loved what I've seen. I think I'm going to have to take some cuttings from these because Some of these are just, the patterning is just gorgeous. I see one of these Salvia madrensis. It looks like it came down in that wind also. Ugh. Okay, so that has been a lot of fun, this little experiment area, letting these plants go. And then I have this white vein Dutchman's pipe vine, which is all throughout here. I kind of wondered if it would be gone, but it looks like there were no caterpillars on it while we have been gone. I noticed back in here it's even growing back very nicely in amongst the coleus. So this is a ground cover that I just love having in the garden. Okay, now we're going to look this way. And this bed is the very first garden bed that I put in, and I call it the North Garden bed, and it's looking a little tough. I don't think it's getting as good of sunshine, so my Salvia coccinea looking a little rough. The saucy wine in here isn't doing too badly. That's pretty good. But my fennel is starting to die back. I mean, I do have some that's still growing, but it's starting to die back. I've got some coneflowers that are starting to poke through with their blooms, but this is a garden that isn't as prolific in the fall. It seems like probably if I cut back my salvia here, it would probably start blooming again. This has been such a tried and true salvia. Let me go on the other side. So Mystic Spires does so well for us here, but it looks like, it is about done unless I do some deadheading. So before we left, it was still flowering, but it says, no, I think I need to be done. So if I come out here and chop this back, give this a good chop, it might give it a little bit more life. So it is so much fun to be on vacation. I can see this Kufia is flowering a little bit better. And while it's so fun to be on vacation, when you come back, it's like, oh, there's so much work to do, which is okay. But I thought I would come out here and share with you what it looks like in its native. Nothing has been done to me for quite a while, and I'm looking kind of rough. Crystal, where have you been? We do have drip irrigation, so it has gotten watered regularly, so that hasn't been an issue, but it certainly hasn't been tended to. So I want to thank you for joining me today. What do your fall gardens look like? I know some of you have got winter and your gardening season is finished, but those of us in the south along the Gulf Coast, our season gets extended and it actually goes fairly long. And so we have a lot of butterflies and birds, and we still have, and we're going to have hummingbirds that are with us. And so it's important to, as a gardener that tends to these creatures, it's important to have flowering plants, berries, shelter for them through the winter. So I just kind of wanted to share with you, as you can see the bright sun here, just wanted to share with you what's going on with us here in the garden as we've returned from vacation. So I hope you all have a wonderful day today, and I hope to see you again soon.